There's going to be a lot of pressure flying around in the Big 12 this year, but I think the Colorado Buffaloes are going to be feeling it the most.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins, so go check them out over there. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Like I said, I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs and also a college football writer for editor, might I add, for Athlon Sports, where I cover all things college football. And so today's episode, we are talking about the pressure in the Big 12. It's mounting, right? I think while people don't view the Big 12 in the same light as they would say the Big 10 or the SEC, everyone's playing for a playoff spot, right? I think until there's guaranteed playoff spots, and even when there is, there's still going to be pressure on certain teams. And so I'm looking around the Big 12 and I'm just like, okay, which teams are under the most pressure, right? Right now, there's 4 that come to mind that could be under pressure. But again, it's like, are any of them facing as much pressure as the other? And so let's run through the list. Right now, in my order from 4 to 1, 4 being the least amount of pressure, 1 being the most, I'm putting Arizona State at 4 in the sense of they make it to the playoff. They have a great year, generational year, if you will. They go from projected 16 team to number 1 team in the Big 12, but they lose Cameron Scadaboo, right? And I don't think one player is going to determine a team's season, or at least one running back will. But I do think losing Cam Scadaboo may see this team take a step back, right? I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Sam Leavitt to turn things around, or not turn things around, to build off of his tremendous season. He's being mocked as a first-round pick now. His trajectory of his career has sort of changed, so there's a lot of pressure there. I don't disagree, but if Arizona State doesn't make it to the playoff, is there going to be public backlash, public outcry? I don't know. I don't think so. Then we move up 1 spot to 3. And I have the BYU Cougars, right? I think they were pretty clearly the best team in the Big 12 for, we'll say, 12 weeks of the season, right? The problem was they needed to be the best team in the Big 12 for 13 weeks, right? They weren't able to beat Arizona State in the Big 12 championship. And it's one of those things where you have to play a complete season in the Big 12, because with the expansion of the playoff and the SEC and the Big 10 being so prevalent, it's very unlikely for you to get the benefit of the doubt. So them losing, I think, really hurt them in a way, right? You look at how they lost, who they lost to, right? Or they didn't even make it to the Big 12 championship, excuse me. Arizona State beats Iowa State, right? And I in my head, for some reason, I had BYU playing in it, but they had an opportunity to play in it, but the tiebreaker thing didn't work in their favor. And so BYU is a team who they return a lot of key guys. They were a big mover and shaker this offseason in the portal. And so I think there's pressure there to sort of build off that platform that they set last year, right? I think Arizona State kind of already reached their pinnacle, right? I don't think they're ready to contend for a title yet. BYU needs to, or at least in their standards, I assume that they want to see this team or this program take that next step and start contending for more than just being a really good program in the Big 12. So I think the BYU Cougars are a team who have Big 12 aspirations and probably need to see some results. And that takes me to my next team, number 2 on the list. You got to go with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And Texas Tech, ironically, they've sort of been flirting with being a college football playoff dark horse for the past 2 years, and it hasn't worked out necessarily. They just have sort of been stuck in this middle ground of like, they're a good team, but they're not good enough to contend, or I guess make that playoff push, right? I guess the past 2 years, like I said, playoff dark horses, right? And then they go 7-6 in 2023, 8-5 last year. So it's like, when do they take that next step? Well, they took the next step financially. NIL wise, 24/7 Sports has them as having the number 2 transfer portal class in the country. They're believed to be one of the biggest spenders of the transfer portal. They brought in Cash Cleveland. So Quentin Joyner, that is. Lee Hunter from UCF, defensive lineman. Mitch Griffiths from Wake Forest, a quarterback who's probably going to be a backup, but still. They brought in a class where it's like, okay, Cole Wisniewski, the safety from North Dakota State, is probably one of my favorite additions. They made moves as if they were pieces away from contending. And so if I'm a Texas Tech Red Raiders fan, I'm going, well, it's this year or never, right? Or not, maybe not never, but it's like, okay, we are going all in this year, right? We need to see some results. We need to see us play for a Big 12 title, right? They need to see us be in the college football playoff chatter, right? 12 teams, right? You should be, if you're Texas Tech and you spent all this money and you have all these returners and there's a lot of confidence around Lubbock, you look around at this roster and you go, when do we start seeing the results on the field? So I think Texas Tech is my number 2. And then Colorado, and I think some people would flip Colorado and Texas Tech, and I think that's okay. But for me, I think Colorado's facing the most pressure because they have the most eyes on them. And it's not necessarily fair, but it's just how life works. I think that there's going to be, I guess, how do I say this without upsetting people? I don't say people care more about Colorado, but there's more people watching Colorado, and there's also more people that want Colorado to fail in a way. So the pressure's on in that way. And the pressure is also on in the sense of Deion Sanders, I guess, he nails year 2, right? The year 1 to year 2 jump was tremendous. The trench play on the defense side of the ball was better. He got a lot from the defense, and the offense, was firing on almost all the cylinders except for running back, right? So there's a lot of reasons to be excited for this Colorado team. You got Julian Lewis, Caden Salter. You bring in all these transfers, Sincere Brown, Joseph Williams, Hakeem Williams. So you bring in a ton of guys, but you're losing Jimmy Horn, Shedeur, Travis, Will Shepard, that is, LeJontay Wester. You're losing a bunch of talent. And so I think the pressure for Colorado goes from, does Deion Sanders' transfer portal method work, to now, can Deion Sanders sustain success without Shedeur, without Travis Hunter, without Shiloh Sanders, without Cameron Simon-Craig, right? Without Nikhai Hill-Green, right? They lost a big chunk of their production. And I think the pressure on them is greater because, one, if Deion Sanders takes a step back, I don't think anyone in the country will feel the wrath of social media, will feel the wrath of pundits more than Deion Sanders. And I also think he puts a lot of pressure on himself as well. So, and I think there may be a bigger chip on his shoulder as a coach this year to prove, like, hey, I don't need, not that Shedeur and Travis didn't move mountains for this program, because they did. There's a reason their jerseys retired. But again, you have to sort of understand, like, Deion Sanders is probably feeling a little bit of pressure to succeed without them, to show people, like, hey, I too can coach this team, right? Not that they were coaching the team, but I think a lot of people will credit the success that Colorado had to those two. And now it's Deion Sanders' time and his staff's time to be like, hey, we could do this, right? We are the team we are a program. We're not just two guys. So those are the teams who I think are under the most pressure in the Big 12. Comment below. Who do you think is under the most pressure? Did I leave someone out? Was it Kansas State? Is it Arizona? Is it? And we'll talk about it in the comment section. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Tom Brady's message to Shedeur Sanders after he fell, or while he was falling in the NFL draft, and why I think people aren't responding in the best way possible, I guess. We'll talk about it. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Upwork. Now, let me tell you about Upwork. If you aren't familiar, you should be, because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you could find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, and experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent if you need help with a marketing campaign is crucial. So Upwork can help connect you, with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com. Upwork, upwork.com, upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow. I got to keep my job, right? Give me 5 stars if you can, right? I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. So the show wouldn't be possible without you. Let's talk about it. Tom Brady sent a nice text message to Shedeur Sanders. And I think people are upset at Tom Brady. And I just feel like we need to address the situation as a whole. So during the NFL draft, Tom Brady texted Shedeur the following message and said, dude, whatever happened, wherever you go, that's day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. Seven times, whatever the number was. And he called out a former sports ESPN analyst, Fox analyst, by the name of Skip Bayless, and said he doesn't know what he's talking about because Skip Bayless was like, he passed on Shedeur. Tom is a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he owns 5%, 5 to 15%, right? I think it's 15% max. I think he went in half with another person. Either way, Tom Brady is a minority owner, whatever the percentage is. While they probably consulted Tom Brady on certain moves throughout the offseason, Tom Brady himself said he was not involved during the draft, right? Maybe that changes moving forward. Who knows? But for the meantime, Tom Brady was not involved in who was selected by the Raiders, who wasn't selected by the Raiders. Tom Brady right now is just sort of a face and an advisor to the team in general, right? Maybe he consulted with Pete Carroll on bringing in Geno Smith, but at the same time, Pete Carroll was probably like, Geno's my guy. Like, I'm going to bring him in. So we really don't know how much say Tom Brady has. And I think maybe somewhere down the line, they'll want him to get more involved. But I feel like a lot of people are blaming Tom Brady for the fall of Shedeur Sanders. And I just don't think that's fair to Tom. Could Tom have advocated for Shedeur more? Maybe. Who knows, right? Maybe he was. Maybe he was banging the table for Shedeur going, you know what? That's my guy. We need to draft him. I trained with him before he went to Jackson State. I've been in contact with him throughout this amount of period. Like, I talked to him all the time. And maybe he could have done that, right? But would it have mattered? Who knows? So I think people who are upset at Tom Brady are looking at this wrong. And I don't think Shedeur Sanders should have fallen to the 5th round. Like, I was baffled, right? If I was a gambling man, which I'm not because it's not legal where I live per se, if I was a gambling man, hypothetically, I would have put money on Shedeur Sanders going in the 1st round. I would have been like, yeah, obviously. Even when his over-under projected pick number went from, I think it was like in the top 5 to the top 10 to 21.5 where the Steelers were. So it was basically like, is he going to go to the Steelers or not at all in the 1st round? I was still like, Shedeur to the 1st round makes a ton of sense. And then when he fell, I was like, okay, Shedeur in the 2nd round makes sense. The Browns have 2 of the top 4 picks. I was like, it makes too much sense for him to go in the 2nd round now. And then he falls. And I think a lot of people want to be upset about this. There's a fan suing the NFL for $100 million. And I talked about this yesterday. The constant, I guess, bashing of people online, the constant attacking of other people because Shedeur fell, because certain NFL teams just didn't view him in the same light that a lot of us did. I don't think it helps Shedeur's case, right? I think teams who passed on Shedeur are passing on him, 1, because they either didn't need him, 2, because they think that there was better quarterbacks, or 3, there's that exterior factor where it's like, he could be a distraction. Now he's a backup for us, and we don't need that. And I think a lot of people are proving them right by attacking everyone who speaks about Shedeur Sanders in certain ways, right? The people who say, you know what, I just don't think Shedeur was good enough to go in the 1st round, and everyone's like, Shedeur is better than this, blah, blah, blah. Or the people who are outraged about Shedeur not getting number 2 over DeAndre Carter, I talked about it yesterday, or suing the NFL because he fell. Does that help Shedeur? Or is that you being a fan, which it's okay to be a fan of someone, right? It's okay to be a fan of a team, a player, a program, a badge, if you will, like the team logos in soccer. I think that's what they're called, the badges. But you have to understand that there's a difference between being a fan and just going a little bit too far. And I think we've taken our displeasure with Shedeur Sanders' experience a little too far in some aspects. Now, I think some of the frustration is warranted, but I don't think attacking Tom Brady or painting out this narrative that Tom Brady passed on him 7 times or whatever the number was is the right way to go about it, because it's just, quite frankly, not accurate. Tom Brady himself said it. I think people around the league, there was a report written, Tom Brady didn't really have a say at all. The only person or player that he really, quote unquote, advocated for was a 6th-round pick, Cam Miller, North Dakota State. Right? Tom Brady liked him, and I think they ran it by him and were like, hey, what do you think of this guy? And he's like, yeah, I think he's good. Tom Brady's not in the war room. You're like, hey, we need to take this guy at pick 107. That's just not how it works yet. Maybe somewhere down the line, but I think everything happens for a reason, and I think Shedeur Sanders will make the most out of his opportunity. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some Colorado recruiting. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. So FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow and all that jazz. Let's talk some recruiting. The Buffs are trying to make some moves in and around the country. I talked about their efforts with KJ Edwards, the number 3 running back in the country, who thinks RBU, which is Running Back University, is coming to Boulder soon. We'll see. I do think that Colorado needs to invest more in the run game, which is why I think you bring in a guy like Marshall Faulk if you're Deion Sanders, right? You don't want your run game to continue to be the worst in the country for 3 years running. So you bring in a legend of the game who, although he's never coached, I imagine, and I what I've been told and read about him is he's one of the smartest players ever. So I imagine he has some wisdom to bestow upon other players. So I do think Colorado needs to invest in the running back room a little bit more, and I think that's what they're doing, and I think that's what KJ Edwards is sort of hinting at there. Whether they get him or not, I don't know, but it's a sign of things to come, I think. Secondly, Colorado was in on 4-star Tennessee tight end commit Carson Snead. He's canceling officials to both Colorado, excuse me as I spit, and UCLA. It's one of those things where it's like, you hate to see it because you need more talent in that room. But at the end of the day, you have Zach Atkins for at least a year or so. You have Corbin Lazier. You got guys that are going to be fine, but you would have liked to snatch one away from the SEC. And now Colorado is offering Michigan State quarterback commit Cade Kaufman. Now, I think this is interesting. I think Colorado is trying to build a quarterback room around Juju Lewis, right? They were in on Oscar Rios. They were in on Brody McWhorter, who I believe it was Mississippi State that he ended up going to. Now they sent out an offer to Cade Hoffman, 4-star, 6'2", 185 from Grand Rapids, Michigan. So kind of a hometown kid, hometown adjacent, if you will. 295th player in the country, 22nd quarterback overall, 5th player in the state of Michigan. He has 11 offers according to 24/7 Sports. It's Michigan State, it's Cincinnati, Duke, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Syracuse. So he's not super heavily recruited by the top dogs. That being said, just because a guy doesn't have top-tier offers doesn't mean he isn't a top-tier kind of player. So I think the Buffs are going to start making some more moves in the recruiting ranks. I've been told that they're having a lot of big visits either last week and in the ensuing weeks where it's just they're trying to make moves. And I think as each year progresses, I think we're going to see Colorado's recruiting class grow, which is a testament to them trying to develop from within. And it's also a testament to players and recruits seeing like, hey, Deion Sanders is trying to stick around in Boulder. And the more guys that see that, the more confidence that they will get, at least from my perspective. So that's what I think is everything you need to know on Colorado recruiting. I appreciate you guys tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow.